My name is Dr. Helena Avery. I am 66 years old now, and for 40 years I have carried a secret so great that I have never been able to share it with anyone. Not without risking my life and his. Behind my barn, that old red wooden building that everyone thinks is just country decoration, I hid something that the American government had been hunting for decades. Something the feds swore didn't exist, but silently pursued for generations. The world calls him Bigfoot. I call him Samuel. Samuel, a creature that everyone thinks is folklore, legend, delusion, but who lived with me for 30 years, breathing the same air, eating beside me, growing, getting sick, learning, fearing, and trusting. I found him when I was 26 years old, in 1984, lying in the woods behind my property. He was wounded, bleeding, and no longer had the strength to run away. August of 1984. The summer had been stifling in the Cascade Mountains, Oregon. The dry air burned my throat. The ground cracked beneath my footsteps. I had lived there since I was 18. The property, 40 acres of dense forest, conifers so tall they seemed to touch the sky, had been left to me by my uncle. A secluded, quiet piece of land, the kind of place where the world forgets to look for you. A simple house, a makeshift laboratory, an old barn, no neighbors within 5 kilometers. To anyone else, it seemed like just loneliness. To me, it was the perfect hiding place. My name is Dr. Helena Avery, a neuroscientist, and before becoming an accomplice of a mythical being, I was just trying to study the human brain and survive my own past. I remember that day perfectly. Not because something extraordinary happened immediately, but because it all began with a small, almost insignificant detail: silence. Absolute silence. In the Cascade Mountains, complete silence doesn't exist. There's always the rustling of pine needles, the snapping of a branch under a doe, the distant cry of a raven. But that morning, as I walked along the path behind the barn, the world seemed to have held its breath. The air was dry, almost harsh. I could feel my throat scratch every time I inhaled. The heat made the resin from the pine trees drip down the trunks in glistening lines, and the sweet, strong scent clung to my skin. I remember thinking it would be just another ordinary day of property maintenance, checking fences, trimming branches, noting territory markings for my animal communication. Study, simple routines. That's when I saw the first drop. Red, dark, firm on the light, dusty ground. I crouched down, touched it with my fingertips. It was fresh. I followed the trail without thinking. Science has always guided me before prudence. How many times have I dived into caves, descending ropes through damp crevices just to observe bat behavior patterns? How many times have I walked through swamps in the middle of the night looking for signs of predators? This wasn't so different. It was just blood, a wounded animal, the chance to observe unusual behavior. But each drop seemed bigger than the last. And the further I went into the woods, the stronger the smell of iron in the air became. The trail curved, as if the creature had stumbled, lost strength, tried to find support on whatever it could find. I should have turned back. Any rational person would have turned back. But when have I ever lived rationally? My whole life has been guided by the question no one wants to ask. What if that which they say doesn't exist, does exist? After about 20 minutes, the trail ended, or rather, it led to him. The first thing I saw was his hair, a huge mass of thick, long fur between dark brown and black. Then I saw his chest rise and fall, slow, heavy, uneven. He was breathing. He was alive. For a full second, my body simply stiffened. I lost all sense of being there. My ears were ringing. My heart was pounding so hard, it seemed to echo throughout the entire forest. I didn't know what it was, not completely, but I knew what it wasn't. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a moose. It wasn't anything I had studied, nothing that existed in books. Nothing that any scientist had dared to record without ruining their own career. Approaching carefully, I lightly touched his arm. The skin was warm. Too warm for a weakened animal. The muscles beneath the fur felt tough, dense, as if every fiber had been built for extreme strength. And then, as my hand trembled and tried to pull away, he opened his eyes. I'll never forget that look, never. Enormous amber eyes, frightened, intelligent. He tried to raise his arm, as if to defend himself, but he couldn't. The blood dripped harder. The wound in his chest was deep, as if something had pierced it. A bullet? A blow? A blow? I didn't know. All I knew was simple and devastating. He was going to die there, and I was the only person in the world who knew he existed. I didn't choose to save Samuel. The truth is more uncomfortable. I couldn't let him die. Carrying a body that size shouldn't have been possible. Even today, when I remember that scene, I wonder where I got so much strength. Maybe it was adrenaline. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the absolute shock of knowing that something that shouldn't exist was there, bleeding in front of me. I dragged him, meter by meter, branch by branch. My clothes tore. My hands bled. My whole body screamed in exhaustion. But I didn't stop. When I finally reached the barn, it was late. At night, the stars shone in the clear Oregon sky, indifferent to what I was about to hide from the world. Inside the barn, I improvised a containment area, old mattresses, thick blankets, a plastic tarp to protect from the cold. I had worked as a veterinary assistant in college, so I had some idea of how to treat serious injuries. But this was different. This was unfamiliar biology. I cleaned his wounds with warm water and antiseptic. He shuddered but didn't react violently. His eyes remained fixed on me as if he were assessing my every move. It wasn't the look of a wild animal. It was the look of someone who understood he was being helped. The wounds were from gunshots, 3 perforations, 1 in the shoulder, 2 in the chest. Illegal hunters probably, or something worse. I extracted the projectiles with sterilized forceps, sutured as best I could, and applied antibiotics I had saved for veterinary emergencies. Throughout the entire process, he didn't utter a single sound of pain. He just watched, he waited, he trusted. Do you believe the government is actually hiding evidence about Bigfoot? Comment below what you think. And if you've ever had a strange experience in the forest, share it with us. In the following days, I kept watch. I couldn't go to town. I couldn't call anyone. Any wrong move and I would lose control of the situation. I fed him fruits, vegetables, raw meat, everything I had available. He ate slowly, carefully, as if he didn't want to waste anything. It was on the 5th night that he finally spoke. Not with words, but with sounds. Deep, modulated, intentional. They were patterns, communication. I recorded everything on cassette tapes, analyzing it later in my makeshift laboratory. There was structure, there was syntax, there was meaning. And in that moment, I knew. He wasn't just an unknown creature. He was intelligent. He was sentient. And I had become responsible for protecting him from a world that would never accept him. Alive. The decision I made that week would change my life forever. I wouldn't give him up, no matter the price. Samuel would live, and I would make sure of it, even if it meant becoming a fugitive from humanity itself. The first 6 months were the hardest. Samuel was weak, needed constant care, and I needed to make sure no one discovered his existence. I installed extra locks on the barn, covered the windows with plywood, and created a silent ventilation system. To any occasional visitor, that place was just a storage shed for old tools. But for me and Samuel, it was a temporary home, a refuge from a world that would hunt him down without hesitation. Communication was the first major challenge. In the early days, all I had were gestures and attempts to interpret his sounds. He emitted deep, guttural noises that vibrated in his chest before escaping through his throat. Some were clearly emotional groans of pain. sighs of relief. But others were different. They were intentional. They were directed at me. I started recording everything, every sound, every pattern, every context. I spent entire nights analyzing the tapes, comparing frequencies, identifying repetitions. And then, in the 12th week, I had my first big discovery. Samuel was trying to imitate my voice. Not perfectly. His vocal anatomy was different, deeper, less flexible for certain phonemes. But he could reproduce simple words. Water, food, pain. They were crude, distorted attempts, but unmistakably intentional. He was learning my language. That changed everything. If he could learn English, then I could teach him. And if he had the cognitive capacity for language learning, then he wasn't just an intelligent creature. He was a person of another species, but still a person. I spent the following months teaching him. I used flashcards with pictures. I pointed to objects and repeated their names. I showed him educational videos that I had used in previous research on cognitive development. Samuel absorbed everything with an intellectual hunger that surprised me every day. By the end of his first year, he could form simple sentences. Helena, bring food. Samuel, feel cold. Out of danger? Yes. His grammar was rudimentary, but functional. And most impressively, he began to ask questions. Complex questions. Questions about me, about my world, about why I had saved him. Why would humans kill Samuel? Was the first question that shattered me inside. How can I explain the cruelty of my own species? How can I justify centuries of fear, ignorance, and violence against everything that is different? Oh, I answered honestly. Because humans are afraid of what they don't understand. And when they're afraid, they attack. He was silent for a long time, processing. Then, with a sadness that still haunts me, he said, Samuel's family died like this. Everyone died. Samuel was the last. Those words broke me. He wasn't just an individual fleeing hunters. He was the last. Survivor of an entire clan. His family had been massacred. He was alone, not only geographically, but existentially. He was the last of his lineage he knew. I then decided that my role would not only be that of a protector, but also that of a witness. I would document everything, every interaction, every cognitive advancement, every fragment of his story. If something happened to me or to him, the world needed to know that he existed, that he had a name, that he had a life, that he had value. Over the following years, Samuel and I developed a routine. I worked during the day in my lab, analyzing data, writing scientific articles on other topics to maintain my academic credibility. At night, I spent hours with Samuel, talking, teaching, and he taught me about medicinal plants that his family used. He showed me animal tracking patterns that no survival manual ever mentioned. He explained the cycles of the moon and how his species used them to navigate. He had empirical knowledge accumulated over generations, passed down orally, preserved in collective memory. And I realized something extraordinary. Samuel wasn't just intelligent, he was a cultural repository. He carried within him the history of an entire people, a people that we, humans, had systematically tried to erase from existence. By the 5th year of our relationship, Samuel had fully recovered. His strength had returned, and with it, a growing confidence in our relationship. He moved around the barn, independently organized his belongings, and even drew on the walls using charcoal that I provided. The drawings were fascinating. Complex geometric figures, representations of constellations, symbols I didn't recognize. When I asked about them, Samuel explained, ancient language. Samuel's people wrote before humans. That shocked me. They had writing? A way to permanently record information? If that were true, it meant that Samuel's species had reached a level of civilization that we have never recognized. It was around this time that I began to investigate more deeply. I used my academic contacts to access declassified government files, old military reports, and documents about activities in remote areas. What I found chilled me to the bone. There were references, multiple references, scattered across decades of official documentation. Project Gigantopithecus, Operation Cascade, Sigma Containment Protocol, and, most disturbingly, Project Goliath. Project Goliath was a classified operation dating back to the 1950s. The official objective was to investigate reports of unknown primates in North American territory. But the deeper I dug, the more sinister the picture became. It wasn't an investigation. It was a hunt. Documents revealed rewards: $500,000 for a body, $2 million for a live specimen. There were capture protocols, analyses of social structure, mapping of territories. The government knew. It always knew. And it wasn't trying to protect or study. It was trying to capture, control, possibly eliminate. I found reports of successful captures. In 1963, an adult male was captured in Northern California, kept alive for 18 months in an underground facility, subjected to cognitive tests, genetic analysis, neurological experimentation. The final report stated only, specimen expired during cerebrospinal fluid extraction procedure. It expired. Like a laboratory specimen, not a living being, not a person. Another report from 1979 described the capture of a female and 2 young pups in Montana. The female was killed during capture due to extreme resistance, unexpected strength. The pups were kept separate for comparative studies of cognitive development. Both died within 6 months. Official cause: failure to adapt to the controlled environment. Real cause: trauma, separation, psychological torture. I read those documents with growing nausea. My own species, my own civilization, had systematically hunted, tortured, and murdered intelligent beings simply for being different. And all of this was kept in absolute secrecy, buried under layers of national security classification. When I told Samuel what I had discovered, he wasn't surprised, just sad. Samuel knows. Samuel's people always know. That's why they hide it. That's why they're afraid. Humans don't just kill bodies. Humans kill spirits too. He showed me something then. Something he had kept hidden until that moment. From a crack in the barn, floorboards, he pulled out a small leather package, worn with age. Inside were objects, carved stones with symbols, fragments of metal with markings that looked like military dog tags, even a partially corroded badge bearing the seal of the United States government. Samuel's people catch hunters. Hunters don't return home. Samuel's family protects, always protects. Before we begin this insane story, leave a like if you enjoy government conspiracy stories. And subscribe to the channel with notifications activated, because this story will keep you up at night. They were trophies, not of conquest, but of survival. Evidence of all the violent encounters that Samuel's people had faced over the decades. Each object represented an attempted capture, a life defended, a hunter who underestimated his prey. One document in particular caught my attention. It was laminated, dated 1987, just 3 years after I had met Samuel. It mentioned Operation Genesis and spoke of preferred live specimens for longevity experiment. Samuel wasn't the only one they were looking for. There were others, and the government had plans for them. Plans that involved not just study, but something far worse: experimentation, forced breeding, biological weapons. The possibilities described in the documents were of a horror that surpassed any known scientific ethics. At that moment, I understood the full extent of my responsibility. I wasn't just hiding an individual. I was protecting a living. Testament to systematic genocide. A genocide that continued to happen, silently, in the shadows of our most remote forests. One of the most extraordinary discoveries I made about Samuel happened in the 8th year of our life together. It was a winter night, snow was falling heavily outside, and I had lit a fire in the metal barrel we used to heat the barn. Samuel was sitting near the flames, staring intently at the fire as if he saw something beyond the flames. Samuel? I asked softly. You're all right? He remained silent for a long moment before answering. Samuel, remember. No, Samuel, remember. Grandfather Samuel, remember. Grandmother Samuel, remember. Everyone remember. At first, I didn't understand. Then, over hours of conversation that night, I began to grasp something extraordinary. Samuel's species possessed what I can only describe as ancestral memory. Not in a mystical or metaphysical sense, but as a real, biological cognitive capacity to access memories passed down through generations. According to Samuel, during special rituals that took place on new moon nights, the clan would gather in a circle. The eldest would enter an altered state of consciousness, a kind of trance, and recite the memories of the ancestors. These were not just stories. They were vivid, sensory, detailed memories, as if he had lived each moment himself. How do you access these memories? I asked, fascinated. Samuel touched his own temple. Here, always here. Memory passed from father to son, from mother to daughter, like a river carrying water, always flowing. He explained to me that, during puberty, young people of his tribe underwent an experience he called awakening of memory, under the guidance of the elders. In a ritual that lasted 3 days and 3 nights, the young people were induced into a state of expanded consciousness through a combination of fasting, meditation, and the use of specific plants. In this state, ancestral memories became accessible. Not all at once, but gradually, as needed. A young hunter could access memories of hunting techniques developed by ancestors hundreds of years before. A healer could recall medicinal recipes that no book had ever recorded. Is it like DNA? I asked, trying to find a scientific parallel. Samuel thought for a moment. DNA is the body. DNA is the mind. The implication was staggering. If true, this ability represented a massive evolutionary advantage. While humans rely on cultural transmission through language and writing, Samuel's species had direct access to the accumulated knowledge of generations. They didn't need to rediscover fire or reinvent the wheel every generation. They remembered. I asked Samuel if he could show me. He hesitated. Dangerous for Samuel. Without a clan, without a guide, Samuel could lose his memory. He might not come back, but he agreed to try to tell me something he remembered from before his own birth. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and began to speak. His voice changed, becoming deeper, more rhythmic, almost like a song. He described the last ice age, not as a story he had heard, but as a lived experience. He remembered the biting cold, the enormous herds of mammoths that his people hunted, the vast ice plains that connected continents. He described the Great Migration, when his people crossed from Asia to North America via a land bridge that is now submerged. Humans also come, but on a different path, at a different time. First comes Samuel's people. Then, much later, come humans. According to the ancestral memories he accessed, his people had arrived in the Americas tens of thousands of years before the first humans. They had witnessed the extinction of the megafauna, the climate change that melted the glaciers, and the emergence of new forests. And they had witnessed the arrival of humans. At first, the two species coexisted peacefully. There was even trade. Samuel's people offered knowledge of plants, cures, and guidance through the forests. The humans offered more refined tools, art, and music. This is the story the CIA doesn't want you to know. But I'm going to tell you everything in the next few minutes. Comment. I want to know if you're ready for the truth. But then something changed. According to Samuel, it was when humans began to want more. More territory, more resources, more control. Conflicts began. Small at first, but growing in scale and violence. Samuel's people don't fight well. Samuel's people don't like to kill. Humans are very good at killing. their people began to retreat. They went into the mountains, the densest forests, places where humans rarely went. They became ghosts, legends, myths. It was safer to be considered imaginary than to be known as real. And so they remained for millennia, hidden, observing, remembering, hoping that perhaps one day, humans would learn to coexist with what is different instead of destroying it. 13 years of perfect care. 13 years without a single slip-up, without a single clue to the outside world. I had developed a meticulous routine, shopping always in different cities, never the same pattern, never the same time of the month. Visitors were subtly discouraged. My property had a reputation for being inhabited by an eccentric hermit who valued her privacy above all else. But human perfection is an illusion, and all illusions eventually crumble. It was the fall of 1997. I had just returned from a supply run when I noticed something strange. Tire tracks on the dirt road leading to my property. Recent deep tracks from a heavy vehicle. My heart raced. I ran to the barn. Samuel was fine, alert, but disturbed. Humans are coming. Samuel, hear the engine. Stay quiet. How many? I asked, already locking all the extra doors. 2, maybe 3. Stop nearby. Then leave. They were hunters, probably. Or worse, federal agents following an old lead. We needed to be even more careful. I installed more cameras around the property, silent alarm systems, even alert traps in the surrounding woods. But the mistake didn't come from the outside. It came from within. It was early December. A heavy snowstorm had covered the entire region. I was inside, preparing hot soup, when I heard Samuel shout. Not a shout of pain, but of excitement. I ran to the barn and found him standing near a partially open window, staring intently at the falling snow. Samuel had never seen snow like this. So white, so beautiful, my heart sank. The window? I had forgotten to reinforce the seal after the last repair. And Samuel, in his innocence and fascination with the first truly heavy snow he had seen in years, had gotten too close. Samuel, you need to move away from the window. Now. But it was too late. On the other side of the clearing, I saw a man, camouflaged, equipped with long-range binoculars, partially hidden behind a conifer. How long had he been watching my property? How much had he seen? Our eyes met for a fraction of a second across the distance. Then, he disappeared into the woods. I panicked. I locked everything up, grabbed the shotgun I kept for emergency, and told Samuel to hide in the underground compartment I had built years before for exactly this situation. Helena is scared, Samuel observed, his voice calm despite the tension. Yes, Samuel, I'm terrified. The following days were agonizing. I didn't know if the man would return, if he would tell anyone, if he had already alerted the authorities. I installed more locks, completely covered all the barn windows, and even considered moving Samuel to another location. But where to? Any movement could attract even more attention. A week later, in the dead of night, I heard vehicles approaching. 3 black SUVs with no visible license plates. Men in tactical clothing, military gear. They weren't local police. They were federal agents, and they were surrounding my property. I ran to the barn frantically, unlocking the underground compartment. Samuel, you need to stay here. No matter what happens, don't make a sound. Don't leave. Promise me. He held my hand with a gentleness that contrasted with his massive strength. Helena protected Samuel for many years. Now Samuel will protect Helena. No, you don't understand. They're going to kill you. They're going to take you to a place where they'll do terrible things. Samuel understands. Samuel always understands. But Helena is a friend, family. Samuel wouldn't leave his family alone. Tears streamed down my face as I closed the compartment lid. I climbed up to the house, shotgun in hand, prepared to face whatever was to come. The agents didn't knock. They simply broke down the door. 6 men, guns drawn, moving with military precision. Dr. Helena Avery, you are under arrest for violating the Protected Species Act, Section Sigma 37, and for concealing biological evidence of national security interest. Section Sigma 37. It was a code I had found in the Project Goliath documents. It meant they knew. They knew what I was hiding. They had known for how long. And now they were coming to get him. What I didn't know was that Samuel, even hidden in the underground compartment, had heard everything. And he was about to make a decision that would change everything. The agents searched my house methodically. They didn't break objects unnecessarily. They weren't violent. But they also showed no compassion. They were professionals carrying out an order, and that order clearly stated, "Find the specimen." "Dr. Avery," said the leader of the operation, a middle-aged man with a scar on his chin and eyes that had seen too much, "let's save time. We know you're harboring a specimen of Gigantopithecus americanus. Turn it over voluntarily and your charges will be reduced." Gigantopithecus americanus. They even had a scientific name for it. As if Samuel were just a taxonomic category, not a person. "I don't know what you're talking about," I lied, keeping my voice steady. He sighed, almost with pity. "Doctor, we have satellite surveillance, heat detectors, analysis of water and electricity consumption patterns. We know you have someone big here. Very big." My stomach sank. Satellite. They had been observing me from space. How many years? How long had they known and just waited for the right moment? Supply records show that you buy food for at least 3 people. But you live alone. Your water bill has increased by 40% in the last 12 years. And there are heat emissions from the barn that are inconsistent with mere storage. He approached. "Where is he?" I remained silent. He gestured to his men. "Search the property. Goliath protocol active." They went straight to the barn. I knew it was only a matter of time. The underground compartment was well hidden, but it wouldn't withstand a thorough search with the proper equipment. I hoped Samuel would stay quiet, that he would obey my last instruction. But Samuel was never good at obeying when those he loved were in danger. The agents had just begun searching the barn when they heard it. A roar. Low, deep, vibrating through the floorboards. It wasn't threatening, it was protective. It was someone's declaration. "She's mine. You won't hurt her." The lid of the underground compartment exploded upward with enough force to tear the reinforced hinges I had installed. Samuel emerged, his mass of over 250 kilograms, more than 2.5 meters tall, completely filling the small barn structure. The agents retreated, weapons raised, but no one fired. They had orders for live capture. Dead specimens were worth less. "Samuel, no!" I shouted, but he ignored me. He placed himself between me and the agents, a living barrier, his eyes fixed on those men with an intensity I had never seen before. And then, to my complete shock, he spoke. In English. To them. "You won't hurt Helena. She will protect Samuel. Samuel will protect her." The silence that followed was absolute. The agents were paralyzed. The leader of the operation lowered his weapon slightly, his eyes wide. He talks? "Of course he speaks," I said, my voice breaking with emotion. "He has a name. He has memories. He has a family that you massacred. He is a person." The leader quickly regained his composure. He spoke into his radio. "Command. I confirm specimen is active. Verbal language. Demonstration. Alpha 9 protocol authorized. Alpha 9 protocol." In the documents I had read, it meant sedation and immediate transport to an Omega-level facility. 2 agents pulled out rifles loaded with tranquilizer darts. I stepped in front of Samuel. "No, you're not taking him. I'd rather die here." The leader looked at me with something that could be considered respect. "Doctor, we're going to take you anyway. The only question is whether you live or die in this process. Choose wisely." Samuel gently moved me aside. His strength was such that I couldn't resist. He looked at me with those amber eyes that I had learned to read so well over the years. And in that look, there was sadness, but also acceptance. "Samuel, go. Helena, stay. Helena, live. Tell Samuel's story. Promise?" "Samuel, no. Helena, promise?" The tears were now falling freely. "I promise." He turned to the officers and opened his arms, offering himself. He didn't fight when the darts hit him. He didn't resist when he fell to his knees. He only looked at me one last time before completely collapsing. They carried him to one of the vehicles using a reinforced stretcher and hydraulic equipment. The last I saw of Samuel was his giant form being placed inside a modified SUV, followed by an additional injection of sedative. The operation leader handed me a card. "If you cooperate, doctor, you might be able to visit him. North Cascades Special Research Facility. But forget about telling anyone. This has never officially happened." And then they left, taking with them the last 13 years of my life, and the only family I ever truly knew. The next 3 months were the darkest of my life. My house was empty. The barn, now completely emptied by federal agents, echoed with memories of Samuel. Every corner reminded me of him. The place where he used to sit by the fire. The chalk marks on the walls where he drew symbols of his ancestral language. His scent, already fading, but still perceptible on. Blankets he used. I wasn't arrested, not officially, but I was under constant surveillance. Unmarked cars parked across the road, my phone clearly tapped, my movements tracked. The card the operation leader gave me only had a phone number on it. I called several times in the first few days. Always the same recorded response. "This line is temporarily out of service." So I tried another approach. I used my academic contacts, former colleagues who worked in government research, acquaintances in regulatory agencies. Most denied knowing of any North Cascades Special Research Facility. One colleague in particular, Dr. Richard Moss, whom I knew had worked on classified projects, told me to stop asking. "Helena, for God's sake, just drop it. You don't want to know what they do there." But I needed to know, and I needed to get Samuel out of there. I hired a lawyer who specializes in cases involving federal agency. He filed habeas corpus petitions, even though Samuel was technically not human in the legal sense. He attempted information request under the Freedom of Information Act. Everything was denied or ignored. "Dr. Avery," my lawyer finally admitted, "legally, your friend doesn't have the status of a person. He's classified as an uncatalogued species, which places him under the jurisdiction of biological research laws. And if the project is classified, there's no civil recourse that works." With no legal options left, I considered illegal alternatives. I tried hiring private investigators to locate the facility. 2 accepted the job and returned the money days later, saying they couldn't help. A 3rd disappeared completely and then reappeared 3 weeks later, refusing to talk about the case. I was desperate. But then I received an envelope with no return address. Inside were GPS coordinates, a basic mountains, and a handwritten note. "He is suffering. You have 1 week before it's too late. South Access Tunnel, code 472B. Trust, no." Official, I had no idea who had sent it. Maybe someone inside the facility itself, someone with a conscience, or maybe it was a trap. But I had no choice. I spent the next few days preparing. I bought climbing equipment, appropriate snow gear, flashlights, and provisions. I studied the map and memorized escape routes. The following night, I set off. The coordinates led me to the heart of the North Cascades, a remote and nearly inaccessible area. It took me almost 8 hours of hiking along. Barely existent trails, climbing steep ravines and crossing icy rivers. When I finally spotted the facility, I understood why it was so secret. It was completely camouflaged, built inside the mountain itself, with entrances that looked like natural formation. Satellites would never detect it. It was invisible to anything except eyes on the ground. I found the southern access tunnel, a small entrance disguised as a natural cave, but with obvious traces of human construction on the edges. There was an electronic lock. I entered the code 4272B. The lock clicked. The door opened. I stepped into the darkness, my flashlight illuminating a narrow concrete corridor that descended into the heart of the mountain. Each step echoed menacingly. Every corner could conceal guards, cameras, traps, but I didn't find anyone. The hallway was empty, strangely empty. After what seemed like hours of descending, I came to a double door made of heavy metal. There was a small window of reinforced glass. I peered through it and my heart stopped. Samuel was there, inside a huge cell, concrete walls, strapped to a restraint table by reinforced chains. Tubes were connected to his body, extracting blood and fluids. Electrodes were attached to his head. Monitors flashed all around. And the worst part, conscious, awake. His eyes met mine through the window. There was pain in those eyes, so much pain, but there was also recognition and a silent plea. Get me out of here. I tried to open the door. It was locked. I needed to find a way in, to free him, to get him out of this nightmarish prison. But how, when I had no idea where the guards were? When every second could be my capture? My mind was racing. I didn't have time to devise an elaborate plan, but I had to act fast. I looked around the hallway, searching for anything that could help. There were control panels on the wall next to the door, but they required biometric access, fingerprints or eye scan. I was about to panic when I heard footsteps. I hid behind a ledge in the wall, holding my breath. Two technicians in white coats walked past, talking quietly about extraordinary cognitive responses and potential for complete neurological sequencing. I knew what that meant from the documents I'd read, extracting and mapping the entire neural structure. An invasive process. Fatal. They didn't plan on keeping Samuel alive. The technicians entered the cell using an access card. The door remained ajar for a few seconds before closing automatically. I waited for them to leave, which took about 20 agonizing minutes. When they finally came out, I memorized their faces. I needed one of those access cards, and there was only one way to get one. I followed one of the technicians at a distance. He went into a nearby bathroom. I didn't think twice. When he was distracted, I hit him with a taser I had brought for emergencies. He fell unconscious. I took his card, his lab coat, his credentials. Dressed as a technician, I returned to Samuel's cell. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure someone would hear. I swiped the card. The door opened. Samuel saw me come in, and his eyes widened with relief, but also with worry. Helena shouldn't be here. Too dangerous. Shut up, Samuel. I'm going to get you out of here. I began disconnecting the tubes and electrodes. Silent alarms flashed on the monitors, but no audible alerts had yet been triggered. The chains holding him were thick, but there was a key hanging from a hook near the control table. Thank God for the arrogance of those who think they are completely safe. I freed Samuel. He tried to stand, but he was weak, debilitated by weeks of constant fluid extraction and experimentation. I supported him as best I could, even though he was 3 times my size. Can you walk? Samuel tempted. We left the cell. The corridor was still empty. Maybe it was night. Maybe it was a reduced shift. I didn't question my luck. I just ran, half carrying Samuel back to the access tunnel. That's when the alarms finally sounded. A loud, intermittent bang echoed throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on the walls. An automated voice repeated, "Containment breached. Lockdown protocol active." Doors began to close automatically. We ran, Samuel regaining his strength with adrenaline. A door descended rapidly in front of us. Samuel held it with his hands, his muscles contracting with superhuman effort, holding the door. Long enough for us to pass underneath before it closed completely. Guards appeared behind us. Shouts of freeze! And sounds of weapons being loaded. Samuel roared loudly enough to make the entire corridor tremble, a primal sound that made even armed men hesitate for a precious second. We reached the access tunnel. We rushed up the steep ramp, my lungs burning, my legs screaming for rest. Samuel, despite his weakened condition, was ahead of me, clearing the way. We emerged into the frozen forest. It was dawn. The moon illuminated the snow with a ghostly light. We didn't stop. We couldn't. We heard the guards coming after us, dogs barking, helicopters preparing to take off. Samuel knew the forest better than any human. Even weak, even wounded, he guided me along paths that no GPS could show, through passages between rocks that we could barely fit through, along icy streams that hid our tracks. We walked for hours. I don't know exactly how long. Maybe 6 hours, maybe 8. Samuel's body was on edge, bleeding again from wounds that had been reopened. I wasn't much better. Finally, as the sun began to rise, Samuel collapsed near a secluded clearing. I can't go on anymore. Too tired. Just a little more, Samuel. Just a little more. But he was right. We couldn't continue, and the sounds of the chase were getting closer. Helicopters flying overhead in the distance, dogs barking, voices with megaphones ordering our surrender. We were trapped, wounded, exhausted, and out of options. That's when I heard a different sound, not of helicopters or dogs, but of something large moving through the forest. Not one thing, several, massive shapes among the trees approaching rapidly. I thought they were more guards, but then Samuel raised his head, his eyes wide, and for the first time since I'd met him, I saw genuine hope in his face. "Family," he whispered. "Family, come." From the shadows of the forest emerged figures that made my brain stop processing reality. 1, 2, 3, ... 7 Bigfoots, of different sizes, different ages, but all undoubtedly of the same species as Samuel. Samuel was not alone. He never was. There were more like him. The first to approach was a huge male, even bigger than Samuel, with graying fur around his shoulders and a deep scar across his chest. He watched Samuel with visible concern, then looked at me suspiciously, not with hostility, but with cautious curiosity. Samuel spoke, not in English, but in his native tongue. Guttural, complex, modulated sounds that I had heard him practice alone so many times, but never fully understood. It was a real conversation, with structure, emotion, and nuances. The larger male answered, his voice even deeper. Then he looked at me again and did something extraordinary. He inclined his head slightly, a universal gesture of recognition and respect. A female, smaller, but clearly in command, judging by the way the others positioned themselves around her, approached Samuel. She touched his face with surprising gentleness, inspecting his wounds. Then she turned to me and spoke, in English, broken but understandable. "You ... save ... Samuel?" I was so shocked that I could only nod, unable to form words. She continued, "Samuel will tell me about Helena. Helena is good. Helena is family now." Tears streamed down my face. After weeks of isolation, fear, and despair, hearing those words was almost too much to process. The sounds of the chase were getting closer. Helicopters were definitely coming in our direction. The larger male emitted a low, authoritative sound. The entire clan mobilized immediately. 2 of them icily lifted Samuel, supporting him between them. The female gestured to me. "Come, quickly, find a safe place." I followed. I had no other choice, and frankly, I didn't want one. For the first time since Samuel was captured, I felt that maybe, just maybe, everything would be all right. They led me along routes I would never have found on my own. Natural. Passages between rock formations, caves hidden behind waterfalls, ancient tunnels that seemed to have been used for generations. They moved with silent efficiency, communicating through subtle gestures and occasional low-frequency sounds. In less than an hour, we completely lost the chase. Helicopters flew overhead several times, but never detected us. The dogs lost our trail in the streams. It was as if we had simply evaporated. We arrived at a hidden valley, completely surrounded by mountain peaks, accessible only through narrow passages that could be easily defended. There were structures there, not buildings, but deliberate arrangements of rocks and logs creating natural shelters. It was a permanent camp, and there were more Sasquatch, females with offspring, young adolescents, elders resting near campfires, carefully positioned so that the smoke would disperse before crossing the valley floor. There must have been at least 20 individuals, an entire community. Organized, structured, surviving in secrecy in the heart of the most remote mountains in North America. Samuel was taken to one of the larger shelters, where an elderly female immediately began treating him. She used plant pastes I didn't recognize, sang softly as she worked, and wrapped his wounds with something that looked like moss, but clearly had healing properties. The female English speaker, whose name I later learned was Kana, sat down next to me. "You ask a lot of questions, don't you?" I laughed. "Despite everything. Yes, many things. Samuel, our brother, we thought, he was lost. We thought he was dead. He disappeared a long time ago. Then you appeared in the matriarch's dream." She said, "Samuel is alive. A human is helping. We need to search for him." "The matriarch's dream?" Kana gestured to the elderly woman tending to Samuel. "She sees. As humans say, visions. Not always clear, but she knows. She always knows." I spent the following days regaining my strength and learning about the clan. I discovered that they had a complex social structure, led by a matriarch who made all the important decisions. They had oral traditions preserving ancestral knowledge. They had rites of passage, mating ceremonies, even a rudimentary form of rock art on the walls of the caves they inhabited. And most importantly, they were afraid, deeply and justifiably afraid of humans. Every member of the clan had lost someone to human violence. Hunters, soldiers, scientists who were just torturers with diplomas. But despite everything, they accepted me because I had saved Samuel. Because I proved that not all humans were monsters. Kana told me something I'll never forget. Humans destroy a lot, but you, you build. You give hope that maybe, one day, we won't need to hide anymore. 2 months after our escape, while I was recovering in the clan's hidden valley, I discovered that we weren't the only ones interested in the truth about the Sasquatch. There were others within. The government itself who questioned the methods and sought real answers. That's how I met FBI agent Elise Morgan. She appeared in the hidden valley in a way no one expected. Alone, unarmed, with her hands raised in a sign of peace. The clan's sentinels had spotted her from miles away, but she wasn't trying to hide. She walked openly, carrying a clearly visible white backpack. Kana and 3 other warriors from the clan intercepted her before she reached the valley. But instead of attacking or fleeing, Morgan simply stopped and said, "My name is Agent Elise Morgan of the FBI. I'm not here to capture anyone. I'm here because I need the truth, and I believe you do too." They brought her down to the valley under close watch. When I saw her, I recognized her face from documents I had read years before. She was the evolutionary biologist who had been brought in to examine a captured Sasquatch in 2002. Her career had been destroyed after she tried to publish her findings. "Dr. Avery," she said when she saw me, "I've spent 3 years looking for you." We talked for hours that night. Morgan told me her story, how she was summoned to a secret facility, how she examined an injured Sasquatch, how she discovered that they were not just unknown primates, but an evolutionary lineage parallel to humans. The genetic tests I managed to get done before being removed from the case showed something extraordinary, she explained, her eyes shining with scientific fervor even after years. Their DNA shares 98.7% similarity with humans, almost identical to the percentage we share with chimpanzee. But the critical difference lies in specific chromosomes related to brain development and muscle structure. She opened her laptop, showing data she had smuggled out of the facility before being fired. Complex genetic sequencing charts, comparative analyses, evolutionary models. They separated from our lineage approximately 1.2 million years ago, probably a branch of Homo erectus that evolved in isolation, developing greater body mass, extreme strength, and interestingly expanded memory retention through modifications in the hippocampus. I listened, fascinated. Finally, scientific validation for everything I had empirically observed in Samuel over the years. But here's the part they did everything to bury, Morgan continued, his voice growing lower. Neurological tests showed brain activity consistent with human-level cognition. Language, planning, empathy, even creativity. By the standards of any scientific definition, they are people. Non-human people, but people. And the government knows this, I said. Not as a question, but as a statement. They've always known. Since at least the 1950s. But officially acknowledging it would mean granting rights, legal protection. And that would interfere with decades of experimentation that violate every international treaty on the treatment of sentient beings. Samuel, who had recovered enough to join us, listened silently to everything. Then he spoke, his voice carrying centuries of sorrow. Humans always know. That's why they kill. It's easier to kill the different than to accept them as equal. Morgan looked at him with tears in her eyes. And I'm sorry for everything my people did to yours. In the following days, Morgan documented everything. He interviewed clan members, filmed their daily activities, and collected DNA samples with their voluntary permission. For the first time, there was a complete and ethical scientific record of the Sasquatch clan. But how are we going to make this public without putting them in even more danger? I asked. Morgan smiled sadly. I've thought about that. I have contacts in the international media, investigative journalists who specialize in exposing government abuses. If we release everything simultaneously to multiple news agencies in different countries, it will be impossible to suppress. It will be war, Kana observed. They'll come after us with everything they've got, probably, Morgan agreed. But it's the only chance for real change. Secrecy keeps them vulnerable. The truth, however dangerous it may be initially, is the only true protection in the long run. The matriarch of the clan, who had remained silent until then, finally spoke. Her voice was ancient, laden with wisdom from decades past. Lies don't protect forever. The truth hurts, but it heals. It's time for the world to know. It's time to stop hiding. And so we decided we would make it public. All the knowledge, all the evidence, all the truth about the Sasquatch, no matter the personal cost. Because some truths are too great to remain buried. The revelation occurred simultaneously in 17 countries on the morning of March 13, 2015. Agent Morgan had meticulously coordinated everything. Journalists from The Washington Post, The Guardian, Der Spiegel, Le Monde, and a dozen other respected publications received identical packages. The headlines exploded before noon. U.S. government hid intelligent humanoid species. Bigfoot is real and has been systematically hunted for decades, scientists confirm. Parallel lineage to humanity still exists. The world stopped. Literally. It was the biggest scientific and political story in modern history. Bigger than the Snowden revelations. Bigger than any previous scandal. Because it wasn't just about espionage or corruption. It was about the very definition of humanity, conscience, and fundamental rights. The U.S. government initially denied everything. Spokespeople read statements claiming the documents were fake. the videos were elaborate CGI, and that it was a conspiracy to undermine trust in institutions. But the evidence was overwhelming. DNA doesn't lie. Forensic video confirmed its authenticity. And most devastatingly, 3 former employees of the North Cascades facility came forward, confirming everything. One of them, a veterinarian who had treated captured Sasquatch, described in horrific detail the experiments he witnessed. The public reaction was chaotic. Protests in dozens of cities demanded protection for the Sasquatch. Religious groups engaged in heated debates about theological implications. Politicians were violently divided between those demanding accountability and those arguing that it was all a hoax. And then, to everyone's shock, the matriarch of the clan decided to do something unprecedented. She agreed to give a live televised interview. It was broadcast globally. Estimates say 3 billion people watched. The matriarch, with Morgan and I translating, spoke for 40 minutes. She described the history of her people, the massacres, the escapes, the constant fear, the loss of territory, the gradual decline of their population until they were on the verge of extinction. But she also spoke of hope, of the kindness of some humans who had secretly helped over the years, of her belief that coexistence was possible. "We don't want war," she said, her voice translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. "We don't want revenge. We just want to exist, to want to live, to want our children's children to know the forest without fear." It was one of the most powerful moments in television history, impossible to watch without feeling something. Even the most ardent skeptics had difficulty denying the evident's sincerity, intelligence, and humanity in the broadest sense of the word in his words. The international pressure was immense. The United Nations convened an emergency session. Human rights organizations expanded their definitions to include non-human sentient beings. Scientists from around the world published joint statements demanding immediate protection. The US government finally gave in. Not completely, not immediately, but gradually. Investigations were opened. Officials were held accountable. The North Cascades facility was officially deactivated, although suspicions persist about other similar facilities. Most importantly, the first protected reserve for non-human sentient beings has been created. 50,000 hectares of forest in the Cascades, with full federal protection. Hunting prohibited, tourism restricted, access only with permission from the clan itself. If you're rooting for them, share this video. The more people know, the harder it is to hide the truth. Samuel and I watched the reserve's opening ceremony via live stream. He held my hand, his enormous hand completely, enveloping mine, and simply said, "Helena, change the world. Give Samuel's people a future." But I knew it hadn't been me alone. It had been Morgan, who risked her career for the truth. It had been the matriarch, who had the courage to reveal herself. It had been every member of the clan who trusted when trusting seemed like insanity. And it had been Samuel, who believed that a lone human could be family when everything else in his experience screamed at him to run. The revelation didn't solve everything. Dangers remained: illegal hunters, religious fanatics who saw them as abominations, corporations interested in exploiting their DNA, but for the first time, they were no longer hidden. They were protected, recognized, free. I am 86 years old now. Samuel is 61, which, by the life expectancy of his species, is considered elderly. We live together on the reservation in a house built on the edge of the valley where the clan makes its permanent home. Half human, half adapted to his needs. A perfect symbol of what we have become. 2 species, 1 family. Looking back on that day in August 1984, when I followed a trail of blood through the forest, I often wonder, what would have happened if I had made the rational choice? If I had called the authorities? If I had let Samuel die there alone as just another unsolved mystery in the depths of the forest? the world would never have known. The clan would eventually have been hunted to extinction. Just another species lost to human arrogance and fear. And I would have lived a normal life without ever understanding what it truly means to be human. Because it was through Samuel that I learned true humanity. Not the biological definition limited to Homo sapiens, but the broader concept of consciousness, empathy, connection. I learned that intelligence is not exclusive to us. That culture can exist without writing. That morality doesn't need organized religion. That family transcends genetics. Samuel taught me that fear is the root of almost all the evil we commit. Fear of what is different. Fear of what we don't understand. Fear that recognizing humanity in others will somehow diminish our own. But I also learned about courage. Samuel's courage to trust when every instinct told him to run. The matriarch's courage to reveal her people to the world. Morgan's courage to destroy her own career for the truth. And perhaps, on a smaller scale, my own courage to choose compassion over conformity. The Sasquatch population in North America now numbers approximately 200 individuals, a 5-fold increase since the discovery. There are clans in 3 different reserves under international protection. A carefully monitored breeding program prevents inbreeding. Cultural exchange occurs between the different groups. They are far from safe, but for the first time in centuries, they are not on the verge of extinction. And the relationship between humans and Sasquatch? Complex, tense in some aspects, but growing. There are now educational exchange programs. Young humans study traditional ecological knowledge directly with Sasquatch elders. Young Sasquatch learn about human technology, modern medicine, and digital communication. There are even rare cases of genuine friendship between individuals of the 2 species. Not many yet. Decades or centuries of trauma don't heal in a generation, but enough to give hope. Samuel often reflects on the son he never had. He chose not to procreate, saying his life was too broken, too full of human pain to be a good father. But he became a mentor to the clan's youth, teaching them about the human world, preparing them to navigate a reality where hiding is no longer the only option for survival. And he became a teacher to humans as well. Hundreds of scientists, philosophers, and students came to the reservation to learn from him. He particularly enjoys discussions about ethics, often asking questions that leave philosophy. Professors speechless. If humans know that killing is wrong, why do they do it anyway? Or if humans are so intelligent, why destroy their own home? Simple, devastatingly direct questions that reveal hypocrisies we prefer not to examine. As for me, I've published 3 books about my experience. I've given over 500 lectures. I've helped establish international protocols for ethical interaction with non-human sentient species. I've received awards I never imagined existed, but none of that matters as much as the quiet nights, sitting next to Samuel, watching the sunset over the mountains in the comfortable silence that only old friends share. The most important lesson I've learned in these 50 years, that the true measure of a civilization is not its technology, its art, or its achievements. It's how we treat those who are different, those who are vulnerable, those who cannot defend themselves. For most of human history, we have failed miserably at this test. But Samuel and his people gave us a second chance, a chance to prove that we can evolve not only biologically, but morally, a chance to expand our circle of compassion to include not only all humans, but all consciousnesses. I don't know if we'll succeed. History suggests skepticism. But I look to Samuel, to the clan thriving in the valley, to young people of both species learning together, and I choose hope. Because in the end, choosing hope despite all contrary evidence is perhaps the most human thing we can do. And Samuel, with his simple yet profound wisdom, agrees. Hope is not about knowing the future. Hope is about making the future we want. So this is what we do. together. Two old friends of different species, doing the best we can to ensure that the future world is one where hiding is no longer necessary, where different doesn't mean threat, where family can mean anything we choose. A place where a scientist and a Sasquatch can watch the sunset together and call it home. Guys, if this video gets 1,000 likes, I'll make a part 2 revealing other secret CIA operations. Let's go!